Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here on a bright and sunny Saturday morning. We could make our ways to a chair. It would be a thing of beauty. Welcome to CCNA April member meeting. Okay, where's my agenda? All right. Richard, would you like to...
It is. Yeah, I know.
See, I follow rules occasionally.
All right, let's start with commissioners. There's Mr. Smith right there, Commissioner. Right in front of me, Debbie Trice, our city commissioner at life. Where else? I don't see anybody else.
Kathy Kelly Ulrich sent her regards.
sick.
She has been sick all week. She misses you.
We got this young man right here.
Jen's
Talk
son
to
is
us in a
getting
second.
married. She won't be here.
And, Whitney, way back there in the corner. Raise your hand, young lady. Okay, there we go. Code compliance. Oh, gosh, how could I ignore our favorite city person? There we go. Nancy Kelly. And we got a couple characters from utilities here. They're going to speak to us in a minute. Verne and Scott. Who else? There we go. Who's coming in? Nobody. I don't see. Did I cover them? Is that it today?
Yes, you did. Well, you didn't mention Danny.
I did.
Oh, I missed it.
I did.
Sorry, Danny.
Okay. So please ignore me while I fiddle with this new monitor that is not behaving.
Any new members at the table for the first time? Nope. Okay. Thank you. I know this says police report Matt, but Matt is out today, and we have back with us after much time passed, Mr. Danny Robbins. I would call you by your title, but I don't know what it is. Sergeant, Professor, Lieutenant, Chief, King. Okay. Danny Robbins, take it away.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. Hope everybody had a great morning. Just filling in for Matt. All the graphs that Matt creates will be on your CCNA website. I'm just going to go over the crime stats for March. As far as our crime stats that we have, there's 0 murders, aggravated assaults 13, robberies 4, sex crimes 1, burglary 5, larceny to vehicles 12. Again, if you've been here before with me, we can always do better. Most of those vehicles that are getting broken into are left unlocked. Let's just lock our vehicles. Motor vehicle theft 6. So if I compare the crimes from January 2024 to January 2025, let me say that again. January 2024 to March 2024 and January 25 to March 2025, we had 131 crimes in 2025. In 2024, we had 184. So our crime is decreasing at a rate of 30%. So we're doing a great job. Thank you. And that's to you. I'm just going to go over some things that we have coming up this month as far as with the police department. National Night Out is Tax Day, Tuesday, April 15th. Please bring everybody down to the police department at 5:30, 2099 Adams Lane. Nancy Kelly made some flyers that are back there. Also my business cards there. If you have any questions, we would love for everybody to be out there. Okay, you can meet all the officers, all the specialty units. The chief will be out there. So it's your time to stop by and see everything that we have in the city. So please have everybody come. City Watch. I've been working with David and the Downtown Association. We're trying to start a pilot program where we can get everybody outside and communicating. We've been working on this now for a couple of years. We're gonna have a table there at National Night Out. Please stop by. I'm mentioning this to everybody, so we're trying to get this out. So if other communities wanna get involved, we have your name, and then we can work together and try to put it in your community. City Watch is, again, we just want people out in the community. If you see something, say something. Don't approach it, but we just want you as citizens to have the ability to contact one another. We've been using some platforms, we can go over that in detail. But again, it's your city. As far as if you see something, just say something to us, communicate. And as far as quality of life issues, there's things that I learned through working with David and Peter Fanning that I didn't know that was out there for the city. So it's also too educational for you as far as how to report stuff to the city and the maintenance guys here. Last, I always like to end something with as far as something that's going on crime related. I've been receiving emails from SunPass. I'm sure everybody else is receiving them as far as pay your bill. And I immediately looked at that and I'm like, oh, it's my daughter. She ran. Then you start looking at it and take a second to look at it. Because once I looked at it, it wasn't my daughter, look at it. It had an Outlook address. SunPass will never send you an email to let you know that you have a bill.
Or a text.
Or a text. Yep, thank you. So please, always take a second, look at it again. If it doesn't look right, it's not right. And I then came home that night, I saw it on the news. So these people are trying, and they're not people, they're dirtbags. And I'm putting a title on it. They're trying to steal your money. And once it goes somewhere, it makes it so difficult for us to even find them because it goes to an account, they close it, we just can't keep up with it and find it. So don't be a victim of crime like that. Do not send it. If you have any questions, call SunPass or anything along those lines. So I just want to bring that up, that there's people out there always trying to get into your house, into your wallet, by your phone, and trying to steal your money, okay? Thank you for having me. Is there any questions? I know you got a packed schedule like always. If something happens where you do have a question, my business card is back there. Don't hesitate to give me a call. I really appreciate everybody's time. Great seeing everybody. And have a great Saturday. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Danny. Real quick, Commissioner Mayor Liz Albert just arrived. Thank you for coming. And I also want to acknowledge our guests. Thank you so much for finding time in your Saturday morning to come and listen and be a part of CCNA. We really appreciate it. And oftentimes, just so you know, guests, and I'm not trying to scare you off, but oftentimes when we're standing up a new committee, we look for you to be a part of that. So thank you very much. Without further ado, we're going to get into our special presentations. We've got 2 presentations this morning because I liked it so much last time. I thought we'd try it again. We are going to talk about water. We're going to talk about wastewater and fresh water, and we're going to talk about storm water because they're 2 completely different things. So we're going to start first with Verne Hall, who's the Director of Utilities from the city, and his partner in crime, Scott. By the way, I did a tour of the facility a couple of weeks ago. It was amazing and very interesting. And if it's something you're interested in, you should check it out. And after they finish, we will have Steve Suau, who was the former County Executive Director of Planning and Development for Stormwater. He is now a consultant and who the county reached out to when Debbie happened to, Hurricane Debbie, not Debbie Trice. When Debbie happened to our county to look from independent review of what happened. So we're going to hear from both of them. First, we're going to take our questions. They're going to take our questions after they have both presented. So without further ado, Verne, thank you. Take it away.
He needs the remote.
You're going to give me the phaser?
That's right.
Oh, while I'm struggling to find the remote, oh, there it is. Please turn your phones off.
You'll have to bear with me, this is a... Am I on? This is a new piece of technology for me, so if I knock out a wall somewhere, it's not my fault.
It happened over here. What'd you do?
I pushed the big middle button.
Now you're supposed to.
Well, all it did was turn the volume up and off. Tell you what, why don't you advance the slides and don't let me work with phasers? Well, while we're figuring out this technical glitch, we'll just go ahead and get started. What we're going to talk about in utilities, for us, a big part of water is planning. I don't know how many of your kids or grandkids may have watched Pinky and the Brain, but every day, Pinky would say, "What are we going to do today, Brain?" And the Brain would say, "What we do every day, Pinky, plan to take over the world." So for us, we're not so much worried about taking over the world, but we think about what are we going to do to meet the needs of our customers today and into the future. So, oh, that's a good one.
There you go.
There we go. So, what we do planning-wise, we look at system capacity, collection and distribution. That's the water and wastewater system. We look at capacity at the water plant and the wastewater plant. And then we look at regulatory compliance. Now we're going. And we look at regulatory compliance for the water and wastewater plants, because there is an ever-changing list of regulatory requirements that we have to be aware of. And we'll go into some of the things that we're looking at and working on. We have basically a couple of things, short-term and long-term. Short-term is we look at immediate impacts. What's going to impact the system right now, today? And then we look at long-term. What's going to happen 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now? Because we have to plan for that, because it takes a long time to do some of this stuff. Can you hit me again? All right. So we're going to talk first about immediate impacts. And you see this sort of blurry picture down there? That represents a new development. So what happens, new development, immediate impact? We look at what does that do to the system? And we have water models, we have wastewater models, we use water gems for the water, and we use PC Swim for the wastewater models, and we take the data that when developer X comes in and says, I'm going to do this and this, we look at fixture counts, we look at the number of meters, all of those things go into those calculations, and we model these things and see, well, what's the immediate impact to that area? If there is an impact, then we have a situation right now at North Water Tower Park where there were 5 different developers that wanted to come in and do some work up there. We had to do some improvements to lift station 38, which is right there in the park. So we split the costs proportionally between those 5 developers in the city to pay for the improvements to that lift station. We're also looking at lift station 8 on Coconut and 10. And what we need to do with the force main. We're modeling that force main as we speak. There's somebody in a room working on a computer modeling this thing, because we don't let them leave until they're done. But we're looking at, is that force main suitably sized? Do we need to upgrade it? If so, what size does that force main need to be? Another short-term impact, this structure over here, that is the headworks, part of the headwork structure at the wastewater plant. And we just replaced that bar screen on that side. That's something that we do on a routine basis out of our RR&I fund, renewal and replacement, so that we keep these systems functioning properly. Now, I'm going to hand off to my tag team partner, and he's going to talk about some of the stuff we do in the field.
So some of the other activities that we undertake that have immediate impacts on our system include rehabilitation programs that we perform annually. In the top left-hand corner, that's a picture of our lift station rehabilitation. You'll notice 2 shiny new blue pumps there. There's a fresh coating on the wet well. The wet well is basically, if you just envision a concrete holding tank, and the pumps pump the sewage, out of the wet well through a force main. It also involves upgrades to control panel, electrical upgrades, things like that. And another annual program that we have is our cured in place pipelining program. You may have seen large trucks out in the street, the manholes open near your homes. If you notice a contraption like this over the manhole with this white tube sticking out, what they're actually doing is they're installing a resin impregnated felt liner inside of the existing sewer main. And what happens is they pull that liner in place, and then they introduce either steam or hot water, and that kicks off a chemical reaction which causes that to cure and basically form a pipe inside of the existing pipe. So we're actually able to have practically new sewer main inside of the old main without an excavation. Right? It's called cured in place pipe. So you may notice those in your neighborhood. And you could go to the next slide. So some of our long-term projects that have a long-term lasting impact and that involve planning for an increased capacity and things like that. I'm sure most of you, and I apologize, I didn't realize how far it was going to be from the screen, but this is a picture of the completed Lift Station 87. Beautiful brick building there. And what you may not know about Lift Station 87 is the depth of the wet well that's under that building. And this is a picture taken during construction. It's very hard to see, I apologize. But these are actually our inspectors down in the bottom of the excavation. The wet well under that building is approximately 50 feet deep. So it has a tremendous amount of capacity. Lift Station 87 currently takes in over 1/3 of the city's wastewater flows through that station. It is obviously the largest master station in the city. Has approximately 9.5 million gallon per day capacity. And Lift Station 87 is kind of unique because it has dual wet wells. So what we do is under normal flows, we'll utilize one wet well and we can alternate, right? But when we get a heavy extreme weather event like a hurricane or storm like that, then we can utilize both wet wells and double our capacity. Another project that's coming up soon is the Osprey Force Main project. This involves replacing the 8-inch PVC force main with 10-inch on Old Oak Spring Creek Drive from Siesta to Osprey. It also includes extending the 8-inch PVC force main from our lift station 2, which is in Cherokee Park on Harmony Lane, to South Osprey. But the backbone of the project is the installation of a new 14-inch force main on Osprey from Weber to Alta Vista. And that'll be performed by means of horizontal directional drill. The other upcoming project that most of you have already heard about is the North Trail Water Main Replacement Project. That's a $29 million project to replace the aging 8-inch asbestos cement water main with 12-inch and 16-inch on North Tamiami Trail from 14th Street to University. And if you'd like any more information about that project, there's some nice interactive maps and such that can be accessed on the city website under utilities and utility construction projects.
And I might point out that the funding for the US 41 line was one of the state revolving fund projects that the commission gave us permission to seek. We did receive funding and we're paying less than 2% on those loans when it's time to start paying it back. That's a repayment loan. It's not your standard loan where they just give you a chunk of money and you have to start paying. You only pay what you actually use. So if we can come in under budget, that's less we have to pay back. This picture here is an aerial of the water plant, which is what Kelly originally came out to tour, and then she tricked me into taking her over to the wastewater plant too. And some of the improvements that we're doing at the water plant include removing this square tank there, that's called the Nichols tank, because that's unnecessary storage, and we're going to use that in the future. We're also going to be putting in new degasifiers, and that just removes the sulfides from the well water when it comes in before it goes into the treatment process. We're going to be putting in new chemical treatment systems so that we can inject an orthophosphate for corrosion control, because we want to be certain that we meet the changing lead and copper rules. And some minor electrical upgrades and things along those lines. Over here at the wastewater plant, by the way, that water plant project was another one funded by SRF. The wastewater plant project, which we also have secured funding from SRF for, that involves rehabbing some of the existing equipment on site, clarifiers, splitter boxes. I won't go into all the details because it's complicated, but that project is designed to ensure that that facility continues to meet our needs into the future. Next slide. Staying ahead of the curve.
All right, so some of our upcoming projects that are on the horizon that are in study phase or pilots or just beginning. First is a major Class 5 deep well. And what we're looking at is we're beginning the application process for a Class 5 recharge well in order to comply with DEP regulations to cease surface water discharge to the bay by 2032 and potentially get recharge credits to increase our draw from the downtown well field. So we're permitted with how much water that we're allowed to draw, and hopefully by building this Class 5 recharge well, we'll be able to get credits and increase the amount of water that we can draw. And additionally, that's going to help us meet our goal to get out of the bay by 2032.
This picture in the middle talks about PFAS. I'm sure many of you heard about PFAS. It's the forever chemicals that you hear about. We do not have any PFAS in our source water. The US EPA did a unregulated contaminant monitoring rule where they wanted utilities to sample for PFAS in their source water. We started sampling even before they came out with that rule because, once again, when you want to take over the world, you have to plan. So we wanted to be sure where we were before that rule even came out. And we do not have PFAS in our drinking water. We do, however, have it at the wastewater plant. And we've been working with University of Central Florida for the past about 2.5 years, categorizing where it is in the treatment process and what options we have to deal with it. We've been looking at incineration, and this isn't the typical sludge incineration that you see. This is really, really high temperature incineration. Foam fractation, which this stuff likes to go into foam. It's attracted to foam, so this process creates a little bit more foam and helps that remove it. So we don't really know what we're going to do yet. We don't know what EPA is going to come out and rule as far as what they want, what their limits are. We've been in talks with our contractors that handle our biosolids and what their options are going to be and what they're looking at, so that, again, we're staying ahead of the curve and we have some ideas that if EPA comes down and says, these are the things that you're going to have to do, we've already got an idea of what direction we're going to go in. And then this little tiny thing over there, that's a nanofiltration pilot project. Our water that we get from the downtown RO well field is more brackish, and it's treated by the RO plant. The water we get from Verne has a little bit more elemental sulfur in it and a little bit more organic carbon, and it's treated by the ion exchange. At the levels that we're bringing the water in now, that process is fine. But over time, as our population grows, we're going to need to shift and start taking more water from Verne. So that's not going to work with the existing ion exchange process. So we've been again studying with Hazen Sawyer and University of Central Florida doing benchtop tests on different treatment methods, and spiral wound nanofiltration was the best product. So on the bench scale, the nanofiltration worked. Next logical thing to do is to bring in a pilot, set it up at the RO plant, run the Verne water through it, and actually do the testing. So over the next 4 or 5 months, that's what we're gonna be doing down at the RO plant. And from there, then that lets us know, all right, this is the next thing we need to work on at the water plant as we start to progress. So, anything else? Did I miss anything?
One last.
Oh, there is one last slide. This is just something that we mentioned to Kelly, and she said, you ought to tell our guys, this is on our website, but if you have a problem with water and sewer at your house, call us first. Don't call the plumber first. If you call us and we come out and we check it, and it's something, if there's a clog in the sewer on our side, or if there's a problem at the water line on our side, we're gonna take care of that, and it's not gonna cost you anything because that's our stuff, and we're gonna make sure our stuff works. If you call us and we come out here and say, all right, our side is good, the problem is on your side, then you know for sure you need to call the plumber. But if you call the plumber first and he comes out and says, well, it's the city's problem, then you're gonna be on the hook for that plumber. So make sure, call us first, let us come out, we'll check it out, and we'll let you know what we find. All right.
And that's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, holidays, weekends, somebody will respond.
Hey, you are correct.
And
We
I
have- we
can
have-
vouch for that. I've done it.
We have people on call 24/7, like Scott said, for our lift station crew, our distribution system, our collection system, and there's people at the water wastewater plants 24 hours a day. So,
All right.
with that, I'll turn it over to Steve.
Thank you, Verne. Well, that last tip was pretty awesome, right? I mean, you know how much a plumber costs. It's not cheap.
And I've utilized them twice, and thank you guys.
Next up, we have Steve Suau. He's gonna talk to us about stormwater. And I'm fortunate enough to have him now live in my neighborhood, so it's super awesome. I can just like cruise on by and say, hey, Steve. So Steve, you have a microphone?
No, he doesn't yet.
He doesn't yet.
He
Oh,
doesn't
we're getting you
yet.
set up.
Yeah, okay, so we need to pick your file, Steve. Which one, stormwater, second one down, or CCNA presentation? Yes.
While you're doing that, at the table when you came in, there were hurricane preparedness guides that I went out to the county and picked up for us.
Oh, wait,
Make sure you take those. If we don't have enough, I'll go to the county and get more. I thought we'd get out ahead of the hurricane season and let people know what they're supposed to do. I'm looking for one to hold up, but I don't see anybody that has
I don't
one.
have the right.
Ah, thank you. They're back here at the table. They're back here at the table. Make sure you grab 1, 10, however many you need. If they're all gone and you didn't get enough, let me know. I'll run out to the county and get more. This is an awesome book. You have a lot of people in your neighborhood that moved here from somewhere else. They've never experienced a hurricane in their lives. Let's make sure they know what to do. So please help yourself to those. Who did I take this from? Thank you. And for Park East, I got them Spanish language version, so they're ready to go too.
Thank you.
Steve, are you ready?
We're ready.
Awesome. Take it away.
The pointer doesn't work, the clicker does. The fat button will advance the little one below it. Back to it.
Yeah, great to be here among my new neighbors. I've lived in Sarasota County area for a little over 40 years and just moved to the city a week ago. So in Gillespie Park, yeah. It's been kind of our dream for retirement. And so I am kind of semi-retired after 40 years. Spent most of my career as an engineer in water, worked with Verne in the city. I don't know if you know it or not, but a lot of your wastewater goes out to Lakewood Ranch, and they use it for irrigation. So a lot of it goes, I think, to Bobby Jones. So I've worked a lot in water quality, but last year with all the storms got pulled back into looking at flooding. And so stormwater is really, I would think of it as rainwater that is in excess of what can be infiltrated into the ground or evaporated back into the atmosphere. Is what makes it out into the bay. So along the way, it's picking up fertilizers, debris, sediment, all kinds of things, and it's the transport of getting all of that into the waterways and the bays. Rainwater itself, unless you're around an industrial area, is fairly clean. So we've had, last year, of course, several flood events. We've had them before. I was here in 1992 when we had a very similar type flood in Philippi Creek. But we've had others. Tropical storm, or I'm sorry, Hurricane Ian back in 22 was a really devastating flood event east of here, the Namaca River and Peace River basins. So when we talk about these large storms or 100-year storms and floods, it depends on where the rain is the heaviest. And last year, probably the heaviest rain in Tropical Storm Debbie was in this region. But we'll have these events again. The real key, as I've indicated, is to get through them with minimal or no flood damage claims. That's really the objective. So anything that, I tell folks this, anything that you're going to invest in or policies you're going to implement, filter it through that one objective, avoiding flood damage claims. So in 1992, we had a flood, as I mentioned, very similar to Tropical Storm Debbie in Philippi Creek. There wasn't as much development out east at the time, so most of the damage was west of the interstate. But it led to a lot of positive outcomes. The first of which was Sarasota County establishing a utility, which is basically an ad valorem assessment that is specifically for managing stormwater. It is, so it provides an annual committed revenue source for the management of stormwater. And it's not just flooding, it's also water quality. The two are both primarily part of what stormwater manages. Manatee County, for example, does not have a stormwater. They do not have a committed source of revenue. They're looking at establishing one, I'm reading, and they really need to. At this point, it's really hard to manage stormwater, both flooding and water quality, without having a committed source of revenue. But several other things came into play because of that. The county was able to buy the celery fields, which was a large historical floodplain, and reconvert it. And in the middle there, they established an interlocal agreement at the time with the city of Sarasota so that everybody in the Sarasota is part of that assessment, and the county is responsible right now for managing stormwater within the city. I think a lot of the main canals in the city are actually owned by the county, part of the public right-of-way. And so just a real contextual, this is a map of the topography, the elevations in Sarasota County. The dark brown are high elevations, so you can see if you live way out east in the northern east part of county, that's the highest part around elevation 100. And the ground generally drops as you head to the west, of course, but also as you head to the south. So I just, let's see if this.
Yeah, it isn't working.
Okay, so this is the Philippi Creek Valley, I would call it, in Philippi Creek, and then this is Whitaker Bayou, and Hudson Bayou is right here. But you can see there's quite a bit of high ground also within the northwest portion of the county and the city. And then this is a combination of historical soils maps, where the yellow are the high ground, the green is the flatlands, and the blue is the low ground. That's the historical wetland areas. So it gives you a general sense of what the lay of the land was. At the time, before all the drainage started, Philippi Creek, shown here, came up as a meandering creek and stopped at about Bobby Jones Golf Course, which was a sawgrass marsh. That's what's circled in red in the middle. The red boundary is generally the Sarasota Bay watershed, the area that drains ultimately into Sarasota Bay. And these grids and these wetland marks are from the original 1847 survey of Sarasota County that was done to establish every section line. And so every legal description, every plat, every lot description is referenced off of this grid of 1 square mile that was done in 1847, a couple years after Florida became a state. What happened in the 1920s and 30s and continued for about 40 years, was draining the swamp. They called it land reclamation, but it was an obsession in Florida. Everywhere in Florida this was going on. So all these blue lines represent how Philippi Creek was extended, as well as Whitaker Bayou up in the upper left, and canals were dug, mainly targeting the blue areas to literally drain the swamp. A lot of it was for agriculture, growing vegetables out of the celery fields. They grew celery, of course, instead of sugarcane. But all these areas were sawgrass marshes, a lot of the larger ones. And again, Bobby Jones is referenced here in the middle. There's actually an old engineering paper from 1887 called Draining the Sarasota Swamp, or Sawgrass, I think it is. And it was Bobby Jones. After the '92 flood, Sarasota County and I worked on a lot of this, oversaw a lot of the mapping and modeling of floodplains. So Sarasota County has very detailed flood models, very physical, dynamic. Thousands of points are analyzed with each rainfall event. But the interesting thing is that a lot of the areas, the blue areas of the 100-year floodplain, they correspond almost exactly to the old swamp areas. So you can drain those areas under normal conditions, but if you get enough rainfall that the ground gets saturated and it can't evaporate, that excess rainfall or stormwater will fill those low areas. That's where it's going to go until it can be drained off by the ditches. Sarasota County has a pretty good database for all the ditches. They also, in that database, have a layer called stormwater hotspots. These are areas where they go out 2 to 3 days if they know a storm is coming in and inspect, because they know they've had problems there of some sort. There's debris or something's gotten blocked. So they go out to check to make sure those areas are open, and if they're not, they'll clean them out. You can see that there's a cluster of them up in the northwest portion of the county. That's where a lot of the hotspots are in the city and the surrounding area there. So Tropical Storm Debbie, or Hurricane Debbie, I think it was a tropical storm when it by us, was mainly a big rainfall event. And Sarasota County and Manatee County, for that matter, have an extensive rainfall network where they can monitor rainfall. These are not just a tube that measures rainfall that can overflow. They're a tipping bucket that can continue monitoring it. So it's a really sophisticated and well-collected system. I think between the two in this region, there were 18 gauges. And for Philippi Creek and the region, the average rainfall was about 13 to 14 inches over a 3-day period, with most of that, about almost, I think 11 inches, falling in the middle 24-hour period. So there was about an inch of rain the first day, then all of a sudden, we got a lot of rain the second day, and then about an inch the last day. It was that middle day that really caused, and all the rainfall that caused a lot of damage. The other thing, Sarah, this is pretty interesting, I think. So the blue, again, are the 100-year floodplain that has been determined, and the pink areas are where flood damage was believed to have occurred during Debbie. And you can see that where development has occurred in the floodplain, that's where the damage is. So the lesson there is, try and stay out of the swamp with development. And so, as part of following Debbie, I got a call from the Public Works Director at Sarasota County asking if I would do an independent review of what happened, which I did, and came up with a series of recommendations, 10 recommendations. I'm just going to touch on 3 because they're probably more relevant to the city. And the first one, and probably the most important one, to be honest with you, is to really up the game on maintenance. I heard this everywhere. I've heard this in the city, I've heard this in Palmer Ranch, I've heard this down in South Venice. Didn't matter, this transcends Tropical Storm Debbie and Philippi Creek. This is a countywide issue that folks do not feel that they're getting a level of service for maintaining the county system for what they're paying for. So it's a real customer service issue that I think the county is working to turn around. But they need to also engage these different communities and understand what their hotspots are. They may know things that the county doesn't know in terms of areas where there's problems or ditches that are overgrown or have too much sediment in them. And so the recommendation is really to engage more with the residents and create a more transparent, like that hotspot map. The county database is actually pretty sophisticated, but I don't think anybody knows how to get to it or where it exists. So there should be a way for people to track when the ditch that they drain to, for example, is going to be maintained and if it's happened. So having that database more accessible by the public and having more maybe town halls with different people in the different watersheds to understand what their concerns are and making sure they're matching up. The second recommendation has to do, and Bobby Jones is somewhat a good example of this. These real significant floodplains out there, like the celery fields, like Bobby Jones, areas that have that were really large sawgrass marshes that have been drained, to the extent possible, it would be good to put those into some kind of protection and enhancement. So again, the models are there. The celery fields is a classic model where the county acquired that, did a lot of work in that area to hold more floodwaters. Bobby Jones could and should be the same way. I'm not as familiar with that. I worked a lot on the celery fields. But there's several areas in the county like that, where stormwater, with the stormwater assessment, could look at acquiring and protecting those areas. The county also has an environmentally sensitive lands acquisition program, which I think the city residents are part of. You also pay, as part of your millage, they put in towards buying lands for environmental. So there's a couple funding sources that could be used to accomplish that goal, to protect these important floodplains. And then lastly, there's a lot of talk on this. It seems like we're having the 100-year storm every year. Is it really the 100-year storm? And those are really good questions, because it turns out that the criteria that's been established by the Water Management District here, Southwest Florida Water Management District, is based on rainfall through about 1996. So the last 29 years of rainfall have not really been factored in to what we should be designing for. And there's in 2022, the USGS, United States Geological Survey, did a very thorough study of the state of Florida and came up with updated data. The South Florida Water Management District adopted it in 2022. So I think there's some discussions going on right now with Southwest Florida Water Management District, because that USGS study did cover our area as well. So they wouldn't have to recreate the wheel. They could just review that report, and if they agree with it, adopt it. The other thing I'll say about the USGS report, it didn't just go through 2022. It looked at the trend and projected out I think at least 20 to 50 years. Maybe it was 50 years. Because anything we build today is expected to be valid, 20 years from now. So it's a very thorough study. And then finally, I was going to talk about what you can do. And many of the communities, this may be more represented in Sarasota County, have stormwater ponds or some kind of detention system to capture stormwater. And I just wanted to walk through that and the thing to really look for. So all of these stormwater systems have a feature that's called a water control structure. It's typically a concrete box, and what's really important is this notch that you might see in it. It's called a weir or concrete notch. And the two things that are important is where the bottom of it is, because that's what controls how high water can get before it starts discharging. Anything below that is essentially in the water table. So digging the system deeper doesn't do anything. And all the storage happens above that line. The width of the weir or notch is set to control how much water can get out how fast. And that rate is important because what it's designed to do is make sure that the rate of water that's going out does not cause flooding to increase downstream or off-site. So this between the overflow of the weir and the top of the structure, that volume is what, like a surge tank that allows the water to stack up because it's restricted getting out. And so this will stage up typically several feet, depending on what the design storm is, but it'll come up several feet. and then start bleeding back down based upon the width of that weir. It's that structure that I wanted to mention is real important. So in your community, if you have one of those, some kind of detention facility and structure, you can typically find the as-built plans on the SwiftMud website. I meant to put up the link, but I can get that to Kelly. To do that, this is actually the pond in Gillespie Park with the structure. And this is what that structure looks like. Where this is the concrete box with the notch in it. This metal plate is typically put in to keep oils and greases and floatables from getting out, and because once it goes through that structure, there's typically a pipe that drains it into the public waterways and eventually into the bays and estuaries. The problem is that these can get really overgrown, and so the pictures on the bottom were actually in Gillespie Park last year, where there's so much vegetation that they build over even that metal plate, and water can't get out till it gets over the plate. And sometimes they can get so overgrown, communities don't even know they're there. So this is probably the number one thing I tell communities, homeowner associations, because they're responsible typically for this. Gillespie, I think, is actually in the city and county's jurisdiction, but most homeowners associations, developments, have to build and maintain these. It's absolutely critical to get this vegetation out from around them, because you can have a great stormwater system, but if water can't get out or is inhibited, then you're gonna have problems. It's gonna back up in the streets and ultimately possibly in the home. And then the last thing I was gonna mention is flood maps. And this is confusing, but if you Google Sarasota County flood maps, this link will come up. Click here, it goes to this page. You click here, it goes to this page. And there's two sets of maps. One's the FEMA maps and one's the local county maps and city maps. They should be one and the same. I don't know why they're not. It's been moving in that direction, but it makes things confusing. And so when you click on the FEMA maps and zoom into the city, you can see these blue shaded areas are typically the 100-year floodplain. And this is the floodplain from rainfall, not from a storm surge or sea level rise. I'm just focusing on that today. And the county has maps. Their shading is different, but for the city, they look like they're pretty consistent. And so you can zoom in, or you can actually type in your address, and it'll take you to that property and give you if you're in the floodplain, or you can actually see if the house or the structure or the lot is in the floodplain. This is the FEMA map, and the blue areas are what they call AE. Those are areas that they have determined a base flood elevation for. But it's also worth noting the gray areas, which are a little harder to see, but those are basically either the 500-year flood or areas that are in the 100-year floodplain, but they're less than a foot deep, okay? So a lot of the streets, 8th Street here and Goodrich is shaded gray, means that it's either in the 500-year floodplain or it would be less than a foot deep during a 100-year flood. So I would say, I would consider flood insurance whether you're in a blue or gray area, but certainly in a blue, if you have a mortgage, you'd be required to have it. And this is the county of the same thing, and it's shaded. It's a little harder to see. They use a different color. I'm not sure why, but the county does it on their maps. They don't distinguish between the less than 1 foot. If it's in the 100-year floodplain, it's all shaded the same color, whether it's a foot deep or less or more. And then, like I said, you can click on any individual property or put in an address and get that information. So I'll have this presentation for Kelly. It'll give you the directions of how to navigate to it. Hopefully in the future that'll be a little easier to access as well. And with that, I'll finish up. Kelly, take it away.
All right, thank you, Steve. All right, everybody, it's time for questions. Thank you. Thank you, Verne, Scott, Steve, fantastic. Gentlemen, who would like to kick us off with questions?
Oh, can I say one thing about the city before you start?
You can say anything you want.
Like I said, do a lot of work in water quality, And these guys didn't mention it, but their reclaimed water, I think, is the gold standard for the region, maybe the state, in terms of how well they treat it to reduce nutrients. A lot of wastewater, and Sarasota County also is updating all of their plants to be AWT. If it's not, when you put that out for irrigation, it can be like liquid fertilizer. It's so high, it can be really high in nitrogen in particular. So, everything I've seen, the city of Sarasota's wastewater treatment plants is some of the lowest nutrient content in the region.
All right, thank you. Okay, kick us off. Please say your name, your neighborhood, and then ask your question.
Charlie Nagelschmidt, Broadway Promenade. My question's about fluoride in the water. Do we have fluoride in the water? And if so, why? And if not, why not? And who makes those kinds of decisions? I know it's become a topical issue of late.
We do not add fluoride to the water. We do have fluoride that is naturally occurring in the wells, but the treatment process removes most of that. And that would be a direction from the commission that they would give us instruction if they wanted or did not want fluoride in the water. We would investigate that, present them with options, and let them provide the guidance and direction on what they would choose for us to do.
I'm working my way around the room, guys.
This is, as a quick reminder, sorry, if you could hold yourself to one question and allow everyone to get to ask their question, and then we'll go around the room again, time permitting. Thank you.
This is a question for Steve. Eileen Normile, Hudson Bayou. Steve, you talked a lot about maintenance. Everyone's got something on their desk about the Hudson Bayou restoration. In other words, dredging of Hudson Bayou. It hasn't been done in 30 years. What is your recommendation for either regular maintenance, timing of regular maintenance, or timing of testing to see whether or not maintenance is required? On Hudson Bayou, if you know that in particular, or generally?
Yeah, and this is an issue in Whitaker Bayou and of course Philippi Creek right now too. I did a lot of work years ago with the Palmer Ranch on those waterways. So yeah, they need to be, they can get to the point, and I haven't looked at Hudson Bayou, but these models that the county have can determine if the sediment buildup is significant enough where it's not just affecting navigation, but drainage. And I think in Philippi Creek, I've looked at it, and that's probably the case, and it may be in Whitaker and Hudson as well. What needs to be done, number one, is a new survey needs to be done to make sure that because that will show how much sediment is built up in there over the past decades. I think a lot of the surveys used in the models for these waterways may be several decades old, 20, 25 years old. So a new survey, cross sections of the creek would tell you how much the sediment is built up. That's also important in terms from permitting, because any agency, if you go in to get maintenance dredging, you're going to have to demonstrate that you're not making it deeper, that you're restoring it to what it once was at the time. But the second part of that, and one of the things that we built into the Palmer Ranch drainage ways when they were improved, was finding places then where you can trap sediment that are accessible and that can be removed every 2 to 5 years. Because if you don't, you're just going to have the problem over and over and over again. So looking for opportunities to trap the sediment, even after as part of a comprehensive plan. It's not just about removing the sediment, but it's having a proactive plan that in moving forward, you have a way that you can access and trap it and remove it so that it doesn't just keep on. Because once it builds up like it is in these waterways, logistically, cost-wise, it's a really, really big deal too. It's costly, and the logistics are going to be tough to deal with. But at least in Philippi Creek, I think everything I've seen, they're moving forward on that. They recognize that they have no choice. At this point, it's got to be done. And I think Whitaker and Hudson will probably need to be looked at as well.
Mary Butler, Amarillo Park Neighborhood Association. My concern would be the stormwater drainages being cleaned out, and also the culverts in front of people's houses being cleaned out. I know last year during the storm, those things were like overflowing, the roads got flooded, so how can we prevent this year by being a little proactive?
Yeah, I mean, I used to live in South Venice, and it was all driveway culverts and swales. And the county would come in and they would clean it out invert to invert. I hear from folks down there that doesn't seem to happen as frequently anymore. So I think that I would just encourage you that that's something that you're paying for that to happen. So it needs to be done. It needs to be done, like you say, proactively, routinely. And I would just encourage communities to reach out to the city or the county that needs to be done.
Mary, if I could make a suggestion to you, the 311 county where you can report it for your area, use that, and then copy Commissioner Smith, Mark Smith, on your email, follow up to them. That's what we do in Gillespie Park, and it seems to be helping us. Sorry, Mark, you're getting more emails. But use the county 311 and then do a follow-up email to get that done, because I know you had significant flooding there on Myrtle last year. We did it and followed up with it for the 10th Street Basin quite a few times, but it did work.
Kevin Spence, Indian Beach South By Shores. My question, I think, is for Verne. You mentioned a recharge well being installed so we could have a greater draw of fresh water. Could you briefly tell us how our freshwater supply is monitored with all the new construction and all the irrigation wells going down? What protections do we have on our freshwater supply? Because I hear about the water table dropping and that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, SwiftMud is the regulatory agency that covers wells and who gets to dig a well. And any well that goes in has to be approved by SwiftMud, and that's all of the stuff that they look at is levels on the water table. We have a hydrogeologist firm under contract with the city. They do our annual reporting for the Verne well field and the downtown well field. And that's all of the data that they gather, that they monitor, because we do monthly reports to SwiftMud and to the health department with the water plant that reports on all of that, water levels, water qualities. And we're not seeing anything that's outside the norm. Typically, in the wintertime, when all the residents are here, when we're producing a lot of water, you'll see a slight deflection in that water table, but that's normal and nothing out of the ordinary. And then as we drop off, then that water table naturally comes back up. The recharge well would go into the downtown RO well field and would do just that. It would be used to recharge that aquifer and allow us to get credits if SwiftMud agrees. And we have had preliminary conversations with both the DEP and with SwiftMud, and both are intrigued by the concept and definitely want us to continue with this project.
Dean Anderson, Avondale. Steve, the hotspots you mentioned, is it possible for us to check whether certain ones in our neighborhood, which have continuously overflowed during the storms and caused damage to all the homes along the Hudson Bayou, can we make sure that those drains are cleared out before major storm events, is my question. Is that possible?
I'll send the link to
Okay.
Kelly and how you can get to those to see if what's already in there, and if not, I think the county operations folks are taking input on that right now.
Okay, thanks.
Ricky Lindsay, Bay Point Park. To whom do we address a question about stormwater outfalls? We've got several places in our neighborhood where stormwater goes into the bayous. And in particular during the last two hurricanes, only one of them has a check valve where water can't come into the neighborhood during a surge. The unprotected ones, the water actually reversed and was coming out of the storm sewers into the neighborhood. We had lots of fish in our neighborhood who got flushed through. To whom do we direct a request or a question for a check valve on the rest of them?
I think the county.
That's
think-
county?
Well, I think the county maintains the public drainage system, so if that pipe's draining public roads, for example.
Right.
They would probably have an interest. I would think that's the place to start, Sarasota County Stormwater.
Okay.
And if it is a city thing, they'd let you know, but I would say that's probably the default.
Okay, thank you.
And you know, by the way, it's a big issue. I know, like I worked with the city of Holmes Beach, and all their pipes have check valves, and they, you know, have to make sure they're maintained, because, yeah, water will back up especially during the sea level rise stuff that's going on. It comes up more frequently.
Hi, Carol Lackey from Shoreland Woods. I'd like to ask about the Osprey project. I'm understanding that the contractor is yet to be selected. I know the project is supposed to start after the school year and hopefully end beforehand. It directly affects our neighborhood, and I haven't really informed all of our neighbors exactly what's going on because we don't have the details. I just wanted to ask about it in general. It'll come directly down Spring Creek over to Old Oak. What could I tell them minimally that how their homes will be affected and their setbacks, etc.?
Sorry.
We actually do have a contractor. The bids came in, but there's still a protest period, so we have to wait for that protest period before we can sit down and go over that. What they'll do, once they're selected, they will do an MOT plan. They'll do the layout, and Kelly has already sent the CCNA's requests regarding traffic calming and whatnot to our public works, to Nick's staff. And we will work with them very closely once we have that contractor on board to sit down and lay out all of this, including temporary traffic calming processes all throughout that. And then once that's laid out, then we will definitely be sure that y'all know exactly what's gonna happen and what the issues are. You guys will have a chance to say, well, what about this, what about that? We'll make sure that you all are part of that process. And we honestly, we try to be as minimally invasive as possible. It's like when you go to Disney, you never see the guys that work on the equipment, you never see the guys that mow the grass. Actually, we try to be the same way. We don't want you to know that there's millions and millions of gallons of raw wastewater, treated wastewater, raw water, and treated water that go underneath the city 24 hours a day. So we try to be very unobtrusive, but occasionally things like the US 41 line break, it was not our fault.
Thank you.
Good morning, Gary Dickinson, McCollum Park Neighborhood Association. I'd like to build upon what Mary Butler was talking about on stormwater drainage, and specifically along US 41, the area from basically the Ford dealership south to Bee Ridge Road. I think there's a disconnect sometimes between it being a state road and when they resurface and communicating with the city. They have a tendency to take the asphalt overlay, pave it over the gutters, and not around, but over the storm drains, greatly restricting the ability for the water to drain through. What can the city do to get a good communication with the state and the contractors that come in when they do repave? When they mill down the road, they remove the asphalt that's on the flat part of the curb, but then they pave right back over again and severely restrict the water flow. And if it's okay, I got a few pictures I could just pass around the room so people could see what I'm talking about. But is there any way to correct that? And is it all right if I just pass these around?
could I get a copy of those pictures?
Yes.
Because I would be happy to present those to Nick and let him, because he has staff that deals with the paving contractors, and make sure that he's aware of this issue so that his staff can make the corrections to those activities. And we work closely with the DOT, so I don't think that would be an issue for Nick to raise to them, that when they're working in the city, and for his staff to be aware of what they need to watch for when these contractors are coming up.
Hi guys, St. Armand's Key, Chris Golia. I've got a stormwater question, but it's directed toward Verne, if that's okay. At the last county commission meeting, the county director of public works recommended to the county commission that they end the interlocal agreement and that they give stormwater maintenance back to the city. He also mentioned that this should probably be done in 2 to 3 years at the latest, and that from all the property taxes we pay in the city, the county gets about $4 million of that money. Could you please paint a picture, if this happens, what that's gonna look like? Will this be under your utilities department? Will it be another department? Will the city have to hire a lot of people, buy a lot of machinery? What is this gonna look like if it happens? Because I think it's gonna happen. Thank you.
Sure. We've actually not had any discussions with the county as far as that presentation. We knew it was coming, but there's a lot of details to work out. Yes, there would be equipment, there would be manpower. Nick, Scott, and I have discussed that, I don't want to say extensively, but quite a bit in the last few weeks. We don't really know exactly what that would look like. We don't feel that's a realistic timeline. And there's level of service, there's assessments that have to be done, equipment that's got to be spec'd. You know, you're looking at back trucks, TV trucks, backhoes, dump trucks, and just a bunch of stuff that you're going to have to do, and how that transition would take place. You know, they've purchased a lot of equipment subsidized by some of the cities, so it's not going to be, in our opinion, just here, it's yours now. There's going to have to be some back and forth give and take, but we really have not had those discussions and really been able to present anything to the commission for direction and guidance from them. But we will be working on that quite a bit, yes.
Thank you.
Sure.
Scott Ashby, Lido Key. You really have covered this already, Steve, about the cleaning out the storm sewers. We do have a couple of owners and residents who talk about it not being done for several years. So I guess the main thing you brought up I was curious about is, do you happen to know if we have a box on Lido Key?
It would be location specific, but yeah, I'm sure there are some.
Okay. Because that would be a key point, wouldn't it? That's the first time I've heard about the bomb.
Yeah.
Good morning, Mark Spiegel, Golden Gate Point. My question pertains more to potable water. And, you know, the infrastructure is in different ages throughout the city. And is there any particular preferred recommendation for any sort of in-home filtration, such as sediment, carbon, reverse osmosis, things like that?
That's personal preference, because each system has different requirements, different maintenance activities, different costs. So we don't make recommendations on what you do. The water that we produce meets the regulatory requirements. And if the customers prefer something different coming into their house, that's really a personal preference. I would suggest you do your research, look at those costs and those maintenance activities that are required, and decide, okay, this is the best system for me.
Any other questions? Two more questions.
My question's for Verne.
Can you state your name and neighborhood, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. Barbara Powell Harris, and I live in Central Coconut. A disclaimer, I'm familiar with where most of our lift stations are. I know we've got quite a few vulnerable ones. Do we have a master plan for updating and upgrading those lift stations that would be vulnerable in a flood and storm surge situation?
Well, we actually have an ongoing lift station rehabilitation program that just about all of the lift stations in the city are about 10 years old. We started a very aggressive program that included lining, new pumps, new electrical panels. So we've been doing that for the last 10 years. We still have a few on our list to get to, but those include hurricane improvements. We did learn some things from the 3 storms, and we have already implemented raising some of the electrical panels in those vulnerable areas, but all of those panels have seals on them. So even though we had some floodwater raise up, those seals kept the majority of that water out, but we're thinking, let's just raise these up and avoid the water getting in there and having to worry about the seal holding altogether. So yes, ma'am, we do look at that, and we've already done some of those panel raises since those 3 storms as we are prepared for the next season.
Thank you.
I have a question for Steve. Melinda Del Pash, I'm from Tahiti Park. We have a retention pond that's supposed to drain into Whitaker Bayou, and it is overgrown. And I have emailed the county stormwater guy multiple times, and I've been ignored. Any suggestions?
Kelly, what did we do last year on Gillespie Park?
We specifically use the county 311, and so therefore it's like the city's click to fix, where it's on record that it's been asked for, and then we followed it up with an email to Spencer Anderson, copying Mark Smith.
That's who's ignoring me.
Copying Mark Smith. That's the key, the copying Mark Smith.
Okay, sorry, Mark. I'm going to send you an email.
He's very quick to jump in and help solve the problem. And that is how we solved our problem in Gillespie Park and got our outfall fixed.
Include Spencer on that email tomorrow.
Yes.
Yes.
Don't surprise him. Just include Mark. Okay. Any other questions? Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. I hope everybody feels like they know a lot more about our water. And frankly, I got to tell you, the reason we went on our little tour of the water treatment plant is here in Gillespie Park, we are right beside it. And oftentimes there's this odor. And the question is, what was that smell? And everybody thought it was wastewater, and frankly, it wasn't. So that was a great learning moment for us. Next up, I will find the agenda under my arm. We are going to approve the minutes from the March 1st membership meeting. And if you're like, well, I didn't get any, they're on the back of your agenda. You just turn your agenda over. There they are. We're trying to save some time and paper. So if I could get a motion to approve the minutes from the March 1st meeting.
I make a motion.
Charles Sherman Baldwin. And do we have a second?
I'll second.
Eileen Normal, second. And all in favor, aye? Any nays? Approved unanimously, thank you. Next we're going to do officer reports. Let's start with Jim.
Morning, everyone. The project that we'll be looking at the DRC process will finally kick off on Monday, April 14th, with several of us here participating. We're all looking forward to making some meaningful changes to that DRC process. Another point I want to make, we've added several new committee members to our Meaningful Input Committee. and will continue to work on several fronts, including better definition of land use compatibility, making the process more objective. Watch for more information on this on our website. Finally, the redesign of the city website is moving into its final development stretch. The website structure is designed and functional, and the communication cloud is complete and usable by staff. The digital forms are ready for staff to finish and fine-tune, and the user training will continue this month. The procedural and process changes that are wrapped into this project are very, very significant. You'll be blown away by the kinds of things that you can do with the website and the amount of information that's going to be available. Tentative launch date, July of this year.
I'm going to give the treasurer's report. We have $5,835 in our account. We had minimal expenses this past month, mostly just maintaining our website.
Flo had to leave because she has an event in her neighborhood, so second vice president report really quickly I'll do for her. The membership asked for a directory last year. How do we reach each other? So in our form this last year, when you re-upped, at the top there was a little red box, and that is where we're building the directory from there. We wanted to have it for today, but we ran out of time. It's not ready for prime time, and a couple of neighborhoods, we're still looking for some information. So at the next month's meeting, you will have access to a directory for the first time with CCNA, so you can reach out to your fellow members. Yeehaw. Area directors? Barbara, you have anything? Where'd she go? Well, apparently no area director. Let's move to committee reports. You already did meaningful neighborhood input. Traffic calming. Norm, did you want to say anything?
Okay. Okay, just to give you a quick update. The traffic calming committee is still continuing to work. The city recognized, engineering recognized that there are 4 parts to the safety program: education, engineering, enforcement, and emergency vehicles. We're going to be continuing to work. We've done work with education and engineering. We're continuing to work in terms of enforcement. We've begun some meetings, and it will be continuing on. And that'll be the role that we have as far as traffic calming. Did you want to talk about?
And then secondly, we talked about at last month's meeting, standing up a second committee to continue to work on the traffic calming side with Alvin, Marie, Corinne, and Nick for the next phase of that. There is a survey that's live right now on the city website and on our website that you can take that has to do with traffic calming. If you haven't taken it yet, please do so. If you haven't sent it out to your neighborhood, please do so. The more information they get, the better it will serve all of us. That new committee has been stood up. There is a member from South Point City Park. There is a member from Indian Beach Sapphire Shores that's covering also the islands. Hugh Fiore, I think he's here somewhere. There he is, Hugh Fiore. Alan's wife from South Point City Park is on the committee, as well as Alta Vista. We have someone from Alta Vista, Steve Martinucci, on the committee, as well as myself. We had our kickoff meeting actually this last week with Norm, who leads the old committee, to kind of take us through the good, the bad, and the ugly of what they accomplished and how to use what they learned as we move forward. So that's what's happening there. Parks Initiative is next, and Sherman is going to give you an update on that as Flo had to leave.
Thank you, folks. Yes, Flo and the rest of the committee, we've been meeting with city officials, specifically Jerry Fogle. Many of you may not realize this, but any of our parks, of the 62 parks located within the city, are actually protected. They could, with the stroke of a commission, I'm not saying they would, please. But they could technically put it out to development. And so we're working with the city, specifically Jerry Fogel and others, Lucia and all of that, to permanently, in perpetuity, protect our parks from development. And we'll get back to you with updates as we move through the process. But the city and the commission are very agreeable to it, but we just want to make sure that it is in perpetuity. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherman. Next up, old business, the capital improvement project that was referred to earlier with Verne. We are absolutely staying on top of that to make sure that the neighborhoods that are affected by what's coming on North Trail, as well as on South Osprey, we have a traffic calming plan in place for those other streets that everybody's going to jump to as soon as that construction starts on North Trail. And we follow up on that quite regularly. And Nick and Pat Robinson have been very gracious in hearing what we have to say and working with us to put a plan together. Their current plan that they had for South Osprey wasn't logical, so Daniel here laid out a better plan for them, frankly, and they're very open to changing the way they're going to go about rerouting traffic through that neighborhood. New business we have, I want to just touch on the new city manager search status really quickly. As you know, having a new city manager is going to be really important to us in making sure that we have a open, good relationship with whoever that person is going to be. The city commissioners had a really excellent workshop last week. Was that last week? Time flies when you're having fun. And they asked really great questions of city staff as well as the recruiter that they've hired to go out and find applicants for us. And they actually, I don't know if you've read it, they slowed down the process, which I think is really great. And they have a meeting on 410 that's open, available for anybody that would like to watch or come and attend, and then another workshop on 411. So that's something that, are those the wrong dates?
Just the 11th.
Just the 11th, thank you, just on the 11th. So more, there's information out there that's available. There is a panel of residents that are involved with the process, that will be involved with the interview process of the finalists. And the city plans to have an open house town hall where you all have an opportunity to meet the final candidates and see who they are, what they're about, what their experience is. So we'll keep you updated on when that's going to happen. That date hasn't been set yet. It's time for neighborhood reports, and we have the lovely Nancy Kelly today for replacement of Pat Robinson. And I did say replacement. So Nancy, if you'd like to come up, we're going to jump into neighborhood reports. Yes, please. Yeah. I have a really quick, somebody sent me this. Everybody has probably met this gentleman at some point, Miles, who does all the work in the city to keep everything going when you go to a meeting. He is involved with the Sarasota Film Festival this year that we all know is in town, and that's why you can't get a reservation at any restaurants. He actually has a movie that he directed that will be showing. It's called The Light They Cast. And it tells the journey of 8 Sarasota area men as they navigate the complex realities of re-entry after incarceration. It's a documentary. So if you'd like to support Miles in his adventure as a director, that would be great. It's going to be playing at the Senior Pavilion at the college. Admission's $20. So if you have time and you can make it, please show up. I'm looking for the date on here. Is it today? 2 o'clock this afternoon. If you're not going anywhere else, go see this documentary.
It's very good.
Okay.
Nancy?
We're just going to go around the table, right? Okay.
Reports, do you have anything
I'm just
for
going
the
to
city?
jot down notes.
Nancy's person.
Scott Ashby, Lido Key. We had our fabulous annual beach party last night. 171 reservations. It was rocking, dancing on the beach. I don't see. Anyway, it was a good party. It was at the Lido Beach Resort. And as always, you got to give credit to Opal Properties and to Ocean Properties because they really take good care of us. We have our meetings there. And just as a sidelight, you might know that the Old Holiday Inn is open and for dinner, and it's really a very well regarded. People are going to it. Great restaurant with the circus theme. And we have a meet and greet Tuesday at Daiquiri Deck, a monthly meeting, and 2 weeks from today, on the 19th, is our annual meeting. Beth, hopefully you're gonna come. And we're gonna have a report by the mayor on how the city's getting along. So if you have any questions or you wanna hear any of that sort of thing, please come to our meeting at the Lido Beach Resort at 10 o'clock. I think the only question we ever had of Pat was about the workers, and I don't know if they've ever looked into that. You know, where the workers park and everything, and it's probably not something gonna happen. I think Mark is more concerned with that on Golden Gate Point. But we continue to rock and roll and move along, and thank you so much.
Hi, good morning. Mark Spiegel, Golden Gate Point alternate. Many of you that live in the vicinity of the Ringling Bridge may be aware of this. Many of you that don't may not be aware of this. But early in February, the state, Florida Department of Transportation, which actually controls the bridges, has made the decision to make the default lighting on the bridge consistently red, white, and blue. There was a intentionally designed color of an aquamarine blue that was designed for a serenity effect as well as to aesthetically accent the architecture of the bridge. This was intentionally designed. It was approved by a number of people, yet the state decided to make it red, white, and blue. So there is a petition that's going to be distributed in the very near future. If anybody wants to participate in this petition, you can contact me after this meeting. I'm just going to quickly read it, and it tells you everything that you really need to know. Okay. We, the undersigned residents, visitors, supporters of Sarasota, respectfully urge the FDOT officials as well as City of Sarasota officials to restore the default illumination color of the Ringling Bridge to the original community-wide selected aqua blue. The John Ringling Causeway is more than just a structure to convey traffic from one side of Sarasota to the other. It is an architectural landmark that defines the beauty and identity of Sarasota. The original aqua blue lighting, a specifically customized color that was intentionally developed by local lighting designers, is a complement to the bridge's aesthetics, enhances the surrounding of the coastal environment, and maintains the serene, sophisticated ambiance that makes Sarasota unique. Recently, the default lighting has been changed to red, white, and blue, a color scheme that, while patriotic, does not align with the bridge's architectural design features and intended aesthetics or Sarasota's distinctive character. While we fully support the use of special colors for national holidays, we believe the default lighting should remain true to its original artistic intent. We also believe that by using the red, white, and blue illumination as a daily feature diminishes the specialness of our patriotic national holidays when the red, white, and blue stands out as a noticeable special event.
Mark, if you would like to send that petition to Jim, we can put it on our website to get that out there to our members.
Have I got 10 more seconds?
No. You went over time. I feel like I'm being the teacher here. No. Tolles Court, you're next.
Suzanne Waxman, Tolles Court. First of all, we are in support of the dredging of Hudson Bayou.
Hey, Michael can't hear what she's saying.
Hi, Tolles Court. We are in support of the dredging of Hudson Bayou. The artist community, we continue with our open studio events the third Friday of each month. We will be flying our flags thanks to Nancy Kelly and Patrick. We'll be flying our artistic flags on our city poles very soon. There was a lot of hard work put in by many people, Nancy Kelly to be one. And we're very appreciative. Thank you so much. At any rate, we hope you'll come in and visit our artist colony and see what the artists have to offer. And I hope you have a great Saturday, and I support what you're talking about. Thank you.
David Lowe with DISCA. One notice to everybody, on April 15th, the City Commission is having a workshop on the Economic Development Strategic Plan. I don't know how many of you know about that, but I think that's going to be an important event for something that's been in the works for about a year. As we know, at workshops, the public can't speak, so I would urge you to look at materials in advance. The other thing is, as some of you know, DISCA has issued a letter of support for the Performing Arts Center, and we did that, and I make that letter available to you. We hope that moves ahead. I know we live in some pretty crazy economic times right now, but looking back, the Ringling Museum construction occurred in the 1927 to 1932 time period, and the Selby Botanical Gardens was envisioned in 1971 and opened in 1974. And I think all of us in the room are old enough to remember some of the economic conditions then. So it's the DISCA's help that will proceed with the Performing Arts Center consideration as a economic driver and cultural fabric for our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Sherman Baldwin Park East, I just wanted to let everybody know that we officially elected new officers. I as president, Andres Bonet as vice president, Lisa Mendez as treasurer, both bilingual as our further reach out to our Hispanic community. Also wanted to let you know that I have been in communication with Ryan Suarez of Kimley Horn, who is involved in a lot of traffic calming projects in the city. I'm going to be talking with CCNA to have them present, because it's not only in my community, but as well as around the city. And they're doing some great things, but of course you want to know about it. Also, Kelly wrote and authored, and I signed a letter to Keith Robbins, the district safety administrator of FDOT, on some problems. As you know, the horrible tragedy on Washington Boulevard and crosswalks and all of that. We want to address that with FDOT. Very important. And then out of my district, but equally as important, some of you may know that my family and I own Hart's Landing. There was a lot of official cars there. First up will be to seawalls and roads, and then the park, Whirlwind Park, and the Serpito Fishing Pier. My family and I have offered to rebuild the Hart's Landing building itself on our nickel, so we hope that that expedites the process, and we're moving forward. It still will be a couple of years away, but thank you for your patience on all of that, and we'll keep you informed. Thanks.
Thank you. Leslie Butterfield, Bay Island, Siesta Key. Don't have a lot to report other than, our area is still very much in recovery from the hurricanes. More and more homes are being torn down. We do see some coming back online for rentals, the Airbnb and that sort of thing. But we struggle with traffic, from, of course, everyone loving to go to Siesta Key Beach. And so it's tough out there. Just thought I'd share that.
Rhonda Manassi, Plymouth Harbor, no report.
Charlie Nadersmith, Broadway Promenade, kind of quiet at Broadway except for buzz about the new Performing Arts Center. We've got a couple few people that are concerned with their views, so they're in the NIMBY pile, and we can discount them. But interestingly, two of our folks, one's a retired Verizon finance guy and the other one's a CPA, have been working extensively on where the money's going to come from to finance the SPAC and validating the TIF estimates. So they had a meeting with Kelly Strickland, I think this week, might have been the end of last week, and she validated a lot of what they were doing and encouraged them to have a meeting with the commissioners to educate them on the validity and what's going to happen with the TIF funds, whether it's real or aspirational. And that's about it at Broadway.
Thanks. Ron Cashton, Laurel Park. A few things. One, we just had our picnic in the park, and I wanted to thank Mayor Albert and Vice Mayor Trice for the grants. We couldn't have done the festival without the neighborhood grants, so they're really important, so thank you for that. We're involved with the Hudson Bayou restoration, part of that coalition, which includes Central Park 1, Central Park 2, Laurel Park, Hudson Bayou, Avondale, as well as Stoles Court. Thank you for that. It began as a project to help restore the Oak Street Canal, and that's expanding, continuing on, and the city has been very supportive. It looks like the county's supportive, and we've gotten over 60 responses from our neighborhood supporting it, so it's a great project.
John Dieter, I'm the alternate for Bird Key, and I don't have a report this month. We'll have an update next month on some developments in the neighborhood.
Eileen Normile, Hudson Bayou. We are also obviously involved with the Restoration Coalition for the Hudson Bayou. We would like to thank our commissioner, our county commissioner, Mark Smith, for always being here and for listening to all the neighborhoods. He's the only one who comes. And Mark, would you please consider supporting these FEMA funds for Hudson Bayou? There was tremendous flooding where there's people here whose entire houses were destroyed. I'm in Zone B, and the water came up to within a house of my house, and I'm in Zone B. The bayou really needs attention. It's like fingers that go through the neighborhoods and attack you when you don't even realize it. So thank you for considering that, and that is the only report I've got. Thank you.
Eileen, before you start, Lynn, Eileen, that's the resiliency, SRQ resiliency piece that's going around. Would you do me a favor? Would you send that to Jim so we can put it on our website for people to be able to respond?
That's
Excellent.
Avondale. If everybody here would read that and perhaps send us their comments, that would be terrific.
That'd be great. Thank you. Sorry, Lynn, go ahead.
No problem. Can you hear me? Okay, I never know if I'm holding this in the right direction. Lynn Elkis, Gillespie Park, and I'm putting on my glasses so I know what I'm saying today. We had an incredibly successful event for our 100-year anniversary. I know some of you were there. We appreciate your coming. Extra thanks to Nancy Kelly for working with us on the grant that we received that helped make this event happen. Also to all the commissioners for approving the grant, and the city arborist for our centennial tree that was planted 2 days before the event, and also for the tree giveaway that we had the day of the event, which those trees disappeared very quickly. I also want to say thank you to Parks and Rec for the games that we had in the park as we await the playground being finished, and also a big thank you for our new speed tables that we have on 6th and 7th Street, which is a blessing because now people are forced to just drive at 15 miles per hour in that area. Okay, well, thank you.
Hi there, I'm Laurel Corberg, Central Coconut Neighborhood Association, and we have several things, but first we want to thank the city and Nancy for once we got the grant for our neighborhood, which we really depend on. So thank the commissioners for supporting that again, because for us, it helps us to get postcards out, to get flyers made, and that sort of thing. One of our big things that's happening for us today is actually happening as we speak. From 10 until 3 today, we are having a garden tour. And we're really excited because we're collaborating with the Historical Society of Sarasota, because they're right in our Pioneer Park. So we reached out to them, so we have 6 homes on the tour. If you have a chance today, do go by. They're really quite fascinating. One of the homes was actually designed by Carl Abbott, so it's pretty exciting. Let's see what else. Oh, and I wanted to thank Jim Ludwig for getting our flyer out on the site, helped to get the word out. We're hoping to have a good turnout today. I wanted to mention that we're still on the U.S. Recycle issue. I've been using my time to talk to as many people as I can to find out what's happened in the past, who we've talked to. But just to give you an idea, when I called the Florida Department of Environmental Protection and spoke to the head of our district in the South District, Jessica Dalton, and I just said my name and that I was from Central Coconut and I was calling because I was concerned about U.S. Recycled. She goes, "Oh yeah, we know about them." I said, "Well, I'm trying to get a copy of all the complaints that have been issued. I understand that by Florida sunshine laws, I'm entitled to that." And she said, "Oh yeah, there have been lots. I'm still working on getting them," just to let you know. So that's going on. In addition to that, the Whitaker Bayou, this letter the Hudson Bayou put out, we totally support, and we would like to add our little Whitaker Bayou along with that. And I would like to encourage the county, Mark, of the 210 million FEMA funds, let's put more than 75 towards these. All of our bayous need it. All of them need it desperately. So that's my comment on that.
Laurel?
Other than that, I would
You're
just
out
want
of
to
time.
thank everybody. Oops, out of time.
Thank you.
That's a first.
Mary Butler here with the Rose Park Neighborhood Association. First of all, I want to thank the City of Sarasota and Nancy Kelly for our grant being approved. This year we will do something to help out our community. And I've sent the flyer around. We're doing our annual Easter parade. We call it the Spring Fling. It is going to be on Saturday, April the 19th. And it's a parade actually. So we want you guys to come out and support us and enjoy the parade. It starts at Osprey Avenue, and let me see what time, 2 o'clock. It's from 2 to 7. They're gonna have vendors out there selling some good stuff and, you know, other crafts and things like that going on. So we're really excited about it. Then we turn around on Easter Sunday and we actually have a free Easter egg hunt that's at Robert L. Taylor, and that's from 2 to 5. There's going to be free food, games, fun, and music. So we're really looking forward to this Easter. And please come out and share it with us. Thank you.
Kevin Spence, Indian Beach Sapphire Shores. First, we'd like to thank the city for the use of the tables and chairs. We had our spring social on March 9th. About 200 people show up, and it's very appreciative. Also, businesses are opening up on the North Trail. I don't know if you've noticed Myrna's, they're packing it in up there. If you like Cuban cuisine, it's a delightful expansion of the Myrna's that was up in Bradenton. Also, we've got a new Italian place that's opened up just this week. It's called My Mama's. And our board went there for a meal, and it's delightful, and I'd like to encourage everybody to check it out. And there's another business opening up that the city recently helped us with. It's called an auto showroom. We were a bit concerned at first, but after working with the city, we identified that it was well within code. There was one issue of a barbed wire fence that went up, and we identified with the city that was not to code, and rather than file a violation, we went to the owner, discussed it with him, and he immediately took it down. So we're trying to welcome all the businesses up there and encourage you all to come up to the North Trail and check us out.
Dean Anderson, Avondale. I think after this meeting, I'm going to go home and watch the movie Waterworld. A couple things. So we had our annual spring social a couple weeks ago. Thank you, Nancy, for helping us out and the city. We, along with Hudson Bayou, we're trying to get this crosswalk at Alta Vista and South Osprey Avenue, and hopefully that could be at the end of the South Osprey Water Project. Maybe they could do that right after. But it's a very dangerous area. A lot of traffic control over there. There's a new bus stop right there, so the neighbors from both neighborhoods need to be able to safely cross that area. So we're part of the Hudson Bayou Restoration Coalition as well. I don't know if everyone realizes it's the area. The Hudson Bayou provides storm drainage for much of the city, about 2,700 acres. So dredging will help the storm resilience and reduce flooding. We've had a lot of backup along the Hudson Bayou in our neighborhood, homes damaged. I know Philippi Creek's going to get earmarked for a lot of the $75 million which are targeted by the county for waterway restoration. But we really would like to have that, some of that get towards the Hudson Bayou area. As you know, 25, 30 years ago, it basically, all the water was gone in that bayou completely. So we really like to address that because there's a lot of silt, pollutants, debris in there, and it's really dangerous. So we'd like to address that. I'd like to thank Mark Smith for coming out and meeting with our neighborhood and to see the extent of the problem that we have there. So we all need your support. You all have that handout with the website where you can write a letter in support of this. So we really need everybody to do that before their April 22nd meeting, which is where they're going to earmark money for various water projects. Thank you.
Ricky Lindsay, Bay Point Park Neighborhood Association. We are marking our 100-year anniversary on the 27th of this month. One of our committee members is here, has worked very hard to put together, it's part of our annual picnic. We are combining that with our 100-year celebration. I want to thank the city in advance for the tables and chairs. Unfortunately, the grant money was used up before we got our request in, so we don't have city grant money this year, but it'll still be a lovely celebration. The traffic light that was removed at Orange Avenue and Gulfview Drive still remains a very large concern in our neighborhood. There is no signalized crosswalk between Selby Event Center and Hillview, so it's more than a mile, and that's a very heavily traversed sidewalk. And people used to be able to it was an on-demand light, so that folks coming out of the neighborhood could safely turn left, and we can't do that anymore. And people can't cross there safely anymore. There used to be, they could stop the light and cross the street, and there are a lot of families, a lot of strollers, and now it's a speedway, and it's we have asked for relief, and it hasn't happened yet. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Gary Dickinson, McClellan Parkway Neighborhood Association. I'd like to give a shout out to our unsung heroes, our garbage men, our recycle men, and they come through our neighborhood every Tuesday, our yard waste men, and in our March newsletter, we did a picture of me and Javier, who does our garbage, did a shout out to them with photographs and put a notation in there advising our residents, when you put your bins out, leave at least 1.5 to 2 feet in between the bins so the grippy arms can grab them individually, because sometimes people put them right up next to one another and it creates a difficulty. But the overall objective was to have our neighbors have a little more appreciation for our unsung heroes, because they really do a great job. Javier does our garbage. Tommy is one of the guys that picks up the tree and yard waste debris. I don't know the name of our recycle guy, but we'll continue on with their recognition in next month's newsletter. And in reference to what Mark said on the Ringling Bridge lighting, and I think I have about 45 seconds left. When you drive from Georgia on I-75 into the state of Florida, welcome to the great state of Florida. It now says welcome to the great free state of Florida. I would just like to share my own personal opinion that if indeed we are a free state, I believe local communities and governments should be able to make decisions that they feel are best for their own local community and not always be directed by Tallahassee. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Carol Lackey from Shoreland Woods Neighborhood Association. Thank you to the city and Mayor Alpert. I really enjoyed sharing your 6-month update of all of the things that have been done. And now the time is past that I've been laying off some of the reporting of things that are damaged in our neighborhood. So we're going to be reporting a lot of things that are actually not from the hurricanes. It's from all of the development of Old Oak, and there's 4 giant homes that are being built, and large trucks and construction vehicles have destroyed 2 storm drains. So all of these things will be coming in. We don't mean to inundate all at once. But we do have some neighbors who have serious concern over, we have a spring-fed pond in between Spring Creek and Shoreland, and where there was a weir, there is no longer anything, and the egress under the street has been continually clogged. We have some issues, and I've been working on it for 3 years to try to get the swale, or what might be called that now goes under through private property that needs to be maintained, I understand, by homeowners, but it's buildings under construction for the past 4 years. So we're working hard on things like that, that we want to make sure we get ahead of before the next, hopefully, hurricane season. And I feel your pain about the crosswalk. It did take 3 years, but we got it done. We have a crosswalk that's been there for about 1.5 years. You just have to be persistent. And ours goes from Old Oak Drive across Siesta Drive with flashers and on-demand button that you press. So, just keep at it. Thanks.
Thank you. My name is Alan Pariser from the South Poinsettia Park Neighborhood Association. I feel like about the 15th person to say this, and it sounds like most of Sarasota was established in 1925. But we're also celebrating our 100th centennial. We had ours on March 2nd, and it was very successful. We had 455 attendees, which is about double what we expected. It was a beautiful day. It was a tour of 8 lovely historical homes in the neighborhood. We had kudos from many of the attendees. Everybody had a great time. We had a nice party at the Southside School. Afterwards, for just the neighborhood, Mayor Alpert was there to present a plaque from the city. I'd like to thank the city and Mayor Alpert for the plaque. Also, Nancy Kelly in helping us, like everyone else, to get a little bit of a grant to help pay for some of the expenses. And I also want to thank all the committee members who are not here, but did a great job in coordinating the entire event. A lot of work went into it, so kudos to everyone. And of course, we're now getting ready for our next somewhat smaller event on May 8th. Everyone is invited. We're going to have a brief business meeting, followed by speakers from University of Florida. They're going to talk about fire prevention in the home, as well as fire prevention around the home and in woodlands, inspired by some of the events out in Los Angeles. And for those of you who spend a lot of time on TikTok, there was actually a bit of a forest fire in Naples just last week that I think destroyed a few homes. So it is worthwhile attending. It'll be at the Friendship Center on Brother Jeanine Way, just off Osprey, 4 p.m. May 2nd. May 8th. There is a brochure for anybody who's interested. I left a few at the table. And you can sign on to our website, very easy to remember, www.sppna.org. And you're more than welcome to attend. We're looking forward to it. Thank you.
Hi, St. Armand Ski, Chris Golia. If my neighborhood had a pothole, I believe I could use this time to bring it to Pat Robinson's attention.
Or you could use Click to Fix and get it in the system.
And our pothole on St. Armand's Key is our stormwater management system and the problems we've been having with it. And the way I would describe that to Pat at this meeting is to say that I believe what the city utility director told us this morning is that all that's happened in the city is a few casual conversations among senior staff members. And it seems to me that hoping the county changes their mind is not a viable strategy. Hoping that the county gives the city 5 to 10 years to do this is not a viable strategy. I was a little bit disappointed at the joint meeting of the county commissioners and the city commissioners that city staff had not prepped our city commissioners to respond to this. I was a little disappointed that the city commissioners did not say 2 to 3 years is not possible. We need 5 to 10. I was a little disappointed that we didn't bring up all the money that the city has given to the county over the years. The time to workshop this with the city commission is now. You can't just hope the county changes their mind. And I would ask our county commissioner who's here to ask your own public works director, if this was your job in the city to build out a stormwater management department, to hire the staff, to buy the equipment, could you do that in 2 to 3 years? I don't believe the answer would be yes. And finally, Spencer Anderson had said at a stormwater workshop recently that the stormwater engineer they're looking to hire would break the county pay scale. Will the city need the same person? And if so, the city and the county are going to be fighting each other to hire people with the expertise that they need. This is a big problem. Please start talking about it in the city. And when the county next meets to vote on this, be prepared to be there and fight. Thanks for the help with our pothole.
Thank you.
Norm Domain, Glen Oaks Estates. Just a couple of things. We're really encouraged in our area with the city and county working together in regard to extending the Legacy Trail. North from Beneva to Bobby Jones, from there to the 17th Street County Park, and from there to Benderson Park. It's a wonderful, wonderful project, and I hope that the city and the county continue to work toward that project. Second thing is, we're really pleased with the pedestrian bike lane that's been created on Caliandra. It is protecting our citizens in terms of walking and biking beautifully. So the striping has been very, very successful, and they've also striped on the north side of Caliandra for parking. And the third thing, we'd like to thank Pat and Jerry Fogel in terms of their working to repair the damage that was done from the illegal dumping along Surface Boulevard. We're in the process of getting that corrected, and appreciate everything the city has done for us on that.
Leslie from Alta Vista. Avna held its elections on the 31st for the president, and it was a very, very close race, and the incumbent, Larry Silvermans, was reelected. The traffic assessment from the Temple Beth Shalom redevelopment came in, and there was a discussion on that. A lot of neighbors are still very, very concerned about the traffic burden due to that. Jerry Bolger, Director of Parks and Recreation, gave us a view of Sarasota city parks before and after 2016, and the neighborhood applauded that presentation. They really enjoyed that. And then our next meeting is for 28 April. We're hoping to have the city attorney and Commissioner Ulrich there to discuss preservation of the parks, in particular, without knowing, it's Payne Park, but
what is of interest is green space, keeping green space green. All right, if you want your comments in the meeting minutes, please send them to secretary@sarasotacCCNA.org. Please, I'm looking at you, Chris, please send them to secretary@CCNA. The email address is on your agenda for your ease, so you don't have to remember it. Also, any of your announcements, you want them on our website. Jim does a really great job of getting those on the website. And that email address I will add on next month's agenda is sarasotacCCNA@gmail.org. sarasotacCCNA@gmail.org. That's, no, this is an email address. I said that, at gmail.com. Oh, sorry, that's at gmail.com. Yeah, see, I got an organ in my head. So Jim does a really great job of putting new information from the city on our website, different things that are going on. So use the website when you need data. And if you want any flyers, anything put out on the website, sarasotacCCNA@gmail.com. Commissioners, anybody have anything they'd like to say? Mark Smith is a yes. Mark Smith has something he'd like to add.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. And I must thank my friend Stephen Suau for being here. We do meet on a semi-regular basis where he educates me every time we meet. The Resilient RSQ deadline was April 3rd, but I believe your applications are already in. But you can continue to deluge us with emails for the projects that you feel are important. And to address my good friend Chris, this Sarasota City County stormwater thing, I've heard our stormwater, our county engineer tell us what he believes. Let me just say that the county commission will take it under advisement. We know it's going to be a series of negotiations with the city on handling this, which I believe it's going to move eventually in that direction. But how it moves needs to be mutually agreed upon as far as money, equipment, timetable. So don't try not to get too excited, but by all means email us, because I really can't have enough emails. But seriously, it's an important issue, and the only, I'm trying to pick my words judiciously, because I got into this position a couple years ago, and I feel a little bit like buying a used car. I had no idea. I had some idea, but that stormwater maintenance is basically neglected for 20 some odd years. Money's been collected, money's been spent. Where it's spent, we're going to have to find out. But that's kind of in the past. We've got to move forward. Maintenance on all the creeks and ditches throughout Sarasota County have been neglected, or at least not maintained on any regular schedule that I can figure out. And so that's something that we as county commission have got to address and will address. It's everything from development in the floodplains that happened before we got here. We have been successful recently, stopping the development in the celery fields. some suggestions that have been brought up through this, the stormwater meetings, workshops have been very useful. And we're gonna be, working on what we can do. I mean, some of the things, but one of my favorite terms is entitlements. They've already been entitled. Landowners have already been entitled. And so it makes it a little difficult to get what we need, I believe, as a community, to make those entitlements a little bit more environmentally sensitive and such. So it's been a challenge. I've enjoyed it. Some days more than others. But we do hear you. I hear you. I believe the county commission is definitely taking the stormwater issue seriously. And so anyway, we'll continue to talk on the issue, but I just wanted to say a few words. And if you have any questions, I know we're way over time. I'll be here afterwards, so you can talk to me some more.
Thank you, Mark. And for the members, the city-county joint meeting, Beth and I both attended because we wanted to hear what they were going to say about stormwater too. Chris, I don't disagree with you at all, anything you said, and we are watching it very closely, and we as a group need to think about how we want to address this and what we need to do. So more to come very soon on that. Next month, our guest speaker is Jerry Fogel from the Parks Department. He's going to take us through the master plan, where we're at, where we're going, as well as what's left to repair from last year's hurricanes before we get into the new hurricane season. So please look forward to that. Have your questions ready as it relates to your neighborhood for Jerry Fogel as well as the city. If you turned your phone off, turn it back on. Thank you everyone for coming. Appreciate your time. Have a great weekend. Pull your chair back, please. Pull your chair back to the wall. Please pull your chair back to the wall. Help put the tables away. If you can, stay to help put the tables away. I'm too weak and old to do that myself. Thank you.
Yeah. I heard something about they were going to do that. I heard something about that. Why normally it would see if you ask me why.